and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my January reading recap where I will take you through the 9 books that I read during the month. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, if you are new to my recaps, typically what I do is I take you through my rankings from my least favorite to my favorite. I then give you some overall monthly reading stats, and we close out with a book haul of whatever books I happen to pick up during the month. So that's how this is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my least favorite book of the month, which was, unfortunately, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I didn't dislike this, but I didn't love it as much as Beach Read, and I only gave this 3 stars. At number 8 is another book that I wanted to love but didn't really, which was Assistant to the Villain by Nicole Maehrer. This was another 3-star read. This tonally didn't work for me as well as I'd hoped it would. I actually had to switch to the audio because reading it physically was absolutely torturous. In the end, I liked it well enough to continue with the series, but this is just a 3-star read. At number 7 is a book that I vlogged, so I will link that vlog up above in the cards, and that is All Along You Were Blooming, which is a collection of poetry by Harper Nichols, and it is fully illustrated. I talk about it in the vlog. Very beautiful book, just not super impactful for me at this point in my life, so I'm just giving it 3 stars. Coming in at number 6 is Fighting on the Home Front by Adie. This was a nonfiction look at women during World War I. I liked this, but it suffered from an abundance of author inserts, which I didn't feel added a whole lot to the story and I could have done without, so I'm just giving this one 3.5 stars. At number 5 was a reread, that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is another book that I vlogged, so I will link that up above in the cards. This is the start of the Darkest Minds series, which I want to complete in 2024, but I needed to do a reread of the book in order to refamiliarize myself with what happened. This did not stand up very well to rereading, so upon a second read, I'm giving it 3.5 stars. At number 4 is The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson. This is her first book in the Shades of London series, and this had been on my Kindle since it was released back in 2011, 2012, 2013. I can't quite remember. I did quite enjoy this one. I'm looking forward to continuing the series, and I gave it 4 stars. At number 3 is another book from the same vlog that I already mentioned earlier, and that was A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I am one that quite enjoys her books, and I gave this one 4 stars. I felt like it was a solid thriller, maybe not the most twisty thing ever. I did see a few things coming, but I still had a good time with it. At number 2 was another reread, that is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I, again, want to finish this series in 2024, so needed to do a reread. I actually liked this better upon rereading than I did when I initially read it back in the day, so I'm giving it 4 stars, and I'm looking forward to continuing the series. And my favorite book of the month was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This was my buzzword pick for January, and I also gave this 4 stars. It was nice to finally read this one because so many other books are based upon this as its source material. So it was fun to give that original one a read. I had a good time with it. Definitely didn't see everything coming. It was a nice, twisty, turny mystery/thriller. And it was the second Agatha Christie book I have read. Murder on the Orient Express I read last year. I gave that one 5 stars. This one wasn't quite as good, so I'm giving it 4 stars. And now I'm going to go ahead and move into my overall reading stats for the month. I did record these in my new reading tracker. This is from Novelly Yours. It is right here, and each month we have a little tracking page right here, so I'm going to just run through that, but then I will also be sharing some other stats as well. So first of all, in January, I did read a total of 9 books. This works out to 3,014 pages. I did the most of my reading via audio, which worked out to 48 hours-ish for audiobooks because my online tracker doesn't really track minutes, it just tracks hours. So 48-ish hours, that's a lot, but That's how I did the bulk of my reading. And my average rating was 3.6 stars because I had a total of 3 stars, 2 3.5 stars, and 4 stars. So not the worst month, but definitely not the best month because I did not have any 5 stars in January. I did not DNF any books, and I did do 2 rereads in January. In terms of how I read the books, I read 7 solely audiobooks, 1 physical book, and 1 that was a combo of physical and audio. My longest read of the month was The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken at 488 pages. And my shortest read of the month was All Along You Were Blooming by Harper Nichols, which was 184 pages. In terms of the genres that I read, I did read 8 different genres. I read 2 fantasy books and then 1 each of mystery, paranormal, nonfiction, poetry, romance, thriller, and dystopian. In terms of author breakdown, I read from 5 returning authors and 4 new to me authors. For series books, I did read 5 standalone books and I did read 4 series books. All 4 of those were book 1s in the series. I read 6 adult books and 3 young adult books, which is a nice change from how last year was going. I read a lot of YA books last year and I'm wanting to kind of up the amount of adult books I'm reading in 2024, so I'm off to a good start there. And then in terms of how I accessed or read the books, I did read 5 owned books, but because I wasn't reading them physically, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the breakdown of how I actually got hold of the audio. So I did borrow 4 audiobooks from the library. I had 1 audiobook from Audible, and I borrowed 3 audiobooks from Aveyard. My most read genre, as I already mentioned, was fantasy with 2 books, although one of them was like a fantasy dystopian, which was Red Queen, so I guess that also works out to like 2 dystopian books. And obviously my most read format was audiobooks. Physical reading was very, very difficult for me in January, and I'm hoping that I'm kind of over the hump with that because obviously I do get through more books when I can balance audio and physical reading. It just was not working for me in January, so we'll see what February brings. And then I always end these little recaps with a little book haul. So I did purchase 2 books in January. One of them I used a gift card for, so I didn't actually spend any money on it. That was All Along You Were Blooming by Harper Nichols. I needed this one for my TBR jar vlog, and the library only had 1 copy and there was quite a long list of holds on it already. So I just went ahead and picked this one up. It is a beautiful book. I'm happy to have it on my shelves. And then the other one that I picked up, I was supposed to read in January, but as you can see, I have not quite gotten it done yet, and that is A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. This is a YA romance book that I'm almost finished with. I'm on chapter 20. This was on my January TBR, but again, physical reading was not going so well for me in January, so this one will get done probably today or tomorrow because I'm hoping to have it done by this weekend. So you will see an update on this in February's recap. And then I also always receive a gift card to Barnes & Noble from my aunt and uncle, and I placed the order in December, but the books arrived in January, so I'm going to go ahead and share those because they were added to my collection in the month. So the first one is Divine Might, Goddesses in Greek Myth by Natalie Haynes. I love Greek mythology. I'm looking forward to reading this. She's written a couple other books that I also want to check out at some point, but this one is nice and short, so I'm hoping that I can squeeze this onto a TBR at some point this year. Then I also picked up the Barnes & Noble edition or exclusive edition of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I've heard good things about this. I typically have good luck with fairy books, so I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. This one has like the French flaps, the different edges, so I'm happy to have this on my shelf. I think it's very beautiful. I also finished the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy in 2023, so I went ahead and picked up The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This is the first in like the sequel series. I don't know that I'm actually going to read this year. I'm kind of wanting to wait till the whole series is done so I can just kind of do it in one go. But again, I had that gift card. This was marked like half off, so I went ahead and picked this one up as well. And then the final books, plural, that I picked up was a duology, and that is the Villains duology by V.E. Schwab. So it comes with Vicious and Vengeful. I might get to this one this year. We'll have to see. I have some other series books I'm wanting to read, but I've really enjoyed pretty much everything I've read by her, so I wanted to go ahead and add this one to my collection as well. So there you have it. That is my reading recap for January. I will link to the 2 vlogs that I did during the month down in the description box below if you want to go back and check those out. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.